Okay, so we got you some green.
Jeribai Tasco has always had a talent for design.
Okay.
I did coloring contests. I was constantly drawing. It was just something I really loved to do. So I would say it was more of a passion that ended up, developing a paycheck.
With that passion, he started New Creation Studio when he was 18. He bought the best equipment that money he didn't have could buy.
I started immediately $6,000 in the hole. And on top of that, I'd bought a car at the time. So I was, 30 grand, somewhere in the neighborhood. I was making payments on.
For the first 6 months, business was great. But the work started drying up, and he wasn't prepared.
I didn't account for any of the slow periods. I just was like, hey, this is one big giant wave. We're gonna be able to, ride this to infinity, baby. And that wasn't the case. That thing came crashing down, and I had no savings, really, in the business. I wasn't taking a salary for myself. So I had to start floating the business on credit cards.
Jeribai was raised in a home where he was taught the importance of tithing. So when he started his business, he promised he'd do the same. But as the debt piled up, it dropped low on his priority list.
The budget was so tight, I felt I didn't have enough money to tithe. And that's where I made a big mistake, probably one of the greatest mistakes.
With his dream looking out of reach, Jeribai started working at his father's law firm as a clerk. One day, his dad sat him down and had a heart-to-heart.
He came in, opened the door, looked straight at me, and said, "You really love design and doing art, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And he said this, he said, "Well, if that's what you love to do, put it before the Lord and then go after it with everything you got." So at this point, I realized, Lord, this is yours. The design is yours. If you want me to continue in this direction, you have to provide jobs. Now it's solely up to you. The Lord answered that prayer in a big way.
Jeribai landed 4 jobs in less than a week. Right away, he started tithing again and paying off his debt.
It was paycheck, 10% tithe. 90% I kept. Usually I would throw that on top of the debt. It took a couple years where I chopped 30 grand down to 0.
Over the years, Jeribai's reputation as a talented designer spread. He landed projects with Nike and Yamaha. He also made it to the finals on HGTV's reality show, Design Star.
I know I was giving my 10% faithfully to the Lord because that's what I'm required to do, but one thing I realized that happened was I was more thankful. Everything that I got in terms of my paycheck, all of my increase, I was so thankful for all of it. And to give the Lord back 10 was like a pleasure. Oh, thank you.
Today, Jeribai and his wife Michelle are raising 2 boys. They want to make sure they understand early about the importance of tithing.
We have a responsibility to tithe and steward. We tithe no matter what. That's what we do. You can never outgive God.